Hello, I am joined by Adam. Hello, Adam.
Hello, that is me.
Now, your full name is Adam the Meta, so why Adam the Meta?
Adam the Meta originates from, I think I was 17 or 18. I was in need of a name change and one that I wanted to keep forever. And I was putting in like random stuff. Like my buddy, his name was Oxide the Goat, and we used to play Destiny a lot together. That was the game I played before Holdfast, Destiny 1 and 2. And I was like, what can I make that would match his name? So I was putting Adam like Adam the Legend, Adam this, Adam that, whatever. And I put in the meta. I was like, man, this looks fucking awful. It's perfect. And fun fact, I'm the only Adam the Meta in the whole world.
Really?
Yep, you typing it on Steam, it's just me. Maybe
Wow.
other people might use the tag the meta. I haven't seen anybody yet, but I think it's few and far between. I might be one of the only ones. Small species.
It's good to be unique.
That's true.
So tell us a little bit about yourself. Like, what are you about?
As far as like melee or my personality, or what do you mean?
I think just like hold fast in general. Like, what are your current going ons?
Uh, I mean, every time I play now, I certainly used to be more involved in, like going to events all the time. I don't go to as many events as I used to. I'm a lot more focused on melee and seeing how I can improve as a group fighter, which also in turn, means getting on 1v1 servers because for all the young melee layers out there, if you want to be a good group fighter, you have to know how to block and stab. So you do have to hit the 1v1 servers. But yeah, I'm mostly about melee now. I'm also excited for NWL.
Yes, we have NWL right on the corner, don't we?
hmm
So how'd you get into Holdfast, and do you remember your first day playing?
I I don't remember like the content of the games, but I do know that I joined at the 45E on my very first day playing the game by the man himself, the myth and the legend. Everybody loves him, Italian Turtle. He might be my favorite person in the whole community, by the way. He's so cool. But yeah, the first day I joined because I think how everybody joins off of either some TikTok or dumb YouTube video where there's a bunch of whip spam, everyone's running and screaming. And I was like, you know what? This could be a stress reliever game. I go in, I scream and I yell, and then I go back to another game. I know I did that on the first day. I don't really remember it that much, but I do remember joining the 45E. That was probably the most notable thing that happened that day.
So they really got you on your first day, just snagged you right up?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And it wasn't like off of any semblance of skill or anything. It was just a normal recruitment message. I was like, you know what? I'll try it. Maybe this could be fun. Maybe they like to scream and yell like I do. Some of them do, not all of them, but I'm certainly glad I joined. I don't think I would want to be in another regiment either.
And this was a year ago now?
Yeah, March 17th, I think it was. I only know because we have an award where you get it after a year to get the veteran medal, which I haven't claimed yet because I don't really care, but I did look just because I was curious. Sometime in March.
Okay. Now, it is pretty rare in this community for someone to remain in a regiment for a long period of time, especially someone that's competitive, because usually with competitive people, they kind of bounce around wherever like the hot zone is, so to speak.
Mhm.
But you've stayed in the 45E, so like, how would you break down the different stages like of the timeline within your time in the 45E?
Um, like kind of like what I was doing, like each given month, sort of like a build up to where I am now.
Doesn't have to be each month. Maybe like maybe your rise to power or something like that. Just so
Sure.
people can kind of break down like the time span.
Yeah, absolutely. Whenever I joined, I was pretty like I would still like kind of get on pubs every once in a while, yelling and screaming. I was actually really quiet as far as the regiment goes. I didn't talk that much. I know I'm really outspoken now, and I scream and I yell and I do dumb shit and I in pickups and all that type of deal. But I was pretty quiet and on the down low. A lot of people didn't know about me, as they shouldn't. I just won the game, but I was just your normal regimental whatever. I went to events. I got on. I didn't really play the game that much outside of events, but they were fun, and I really enjoyed the guys that were leading around that time. Like like now we have there's more different people leading, I feel like, than there were before. Like whenever I first joined, it was mostly like I was an A company with Turtle and Taylor, and they're legends of the 45 year or whatever. So it was really fun because they're really professional and good. It seems like they always know what they're doing. So it was always a fun experience to, because they keep shit tied down over there. Then not too long after, I guess NWL started, I ended up being able to be on the NWL team as a private something. There was a lot of low ranks that were actually in it, like a few guys that are NCOs now, like I am in the 45E. Uh, I did take a 1 or 2 month hiatus. I think in the middle of NWL where I wasn't coming to all the shit because I was working a lot more than I normally do now. Where I was gone for a little bit, so I stayed a lower rank for a while. I don't really care that much about ranks, but and then that led into, I believe, I guess yeah, RGL happened. We weren't in your RGL, we were in the other one, which
Sadly.
we did pretty. Yeah, sadly. Yeah, which I don't know anything about that stuff. I barely know anything about hold fast drama. Only a couple of things recently have been, you know, I've been able to be able to see more recently. But yeah, RGL came up. I don't remember when I actually began starting for the RGL team. I knew because I didn't really start practicing melee, I think, until the middle of NWL or maybe right after. It was certainly I definitely didn't start mailing when I first started or for the first couple months. But whenever I started to get kind of okay at it, and after Turtle kicked my ass enough, I was like, okay, I gotta shit on these people because it's annoying. Because I have an ego, and it annoys me that all these people are just way better than me. Like I didn't even know that there could be a skill gap in a game like Hold Fast Nations at War. Like who the fuck comes to this game and is like, I'm gonna be a competitive Hold Fast player, But now look at me. I'm just eating my own words, I guess. But yeah, RGL came around. Shout out to Chug because whenever I did started playing and starting for our group fight team, it was because him. It was because of him bringing me up, and he shouted me out, and he was like, "Hey, I think Adam's one of our better guys." Blah blah blah, and he was telling me, he was like, "People are sleeping on you. You're so good. You're getting good so fast." So, he's the homie, and we're still friends now. We actually run the melee training together in the 45E, which is a lot of fun. Yeah, and obviously there was that weird disconnect, because we weren't friends before, or we didn't really talk that much. Shug actually didn't talk that much, at least not to me, before like he went to the 12ES and then came back, and then after that, he got me on the team, and things were competitive, and we were trying, and yeah, he made sure I got a spot, which was really cool, and now here I am today. Uh, and then yeah, after RGL, HCL comes around. It's funny because like people were saying, I was a steal pick. I went from 25th pick and then I finished fourth overall or whatever. I'm surprised I even got picked like number 25. I didn't think anybody knew who I was. The only reason I had any like a semblance of a thought that I thought I was going to be picked like somewhat early was because Paprika was like, "Oh yeah, I'm gonna pick you and Shug like back to back, whatever." But then obviously no one can predict what's gonna happen in the draft and shit happened. And then I went 25th for another team. Um, so yeah, I was happy to be picked 25th. I was like, holy shit, I didn't think I was that good. And then it turns out I was even better by the end. I definitely did improve a lot. There was a lot of improvement that happened during HGL. I was better at the end than I was when I started naturally, I guess. Um, hmm.
Can you speak a bit about your time like in the Cambridge chats? Because I know you were traded at one point.
Oh yeah. Yeah, I did start. I started on Thad's team, the team that actually ended up winning HDL. No regrets because I did switch. I thought we had a really good team. I didn't switch because I had any like major issues with anybody. There were a couple of backseat gamers I will leave unnamed, but that was not the reason I left. Uh, and I love those guys. I'm just fucking around anyways, even though I haven't called them out. But I switched to the Chads because most of the 45Es guys were there. It was Wraith, Chew, Turtle. I think Chicken was on the Chads too. I can't remember because I don't think he got played that much at the time, even though he's a beast in the mid. Uh, But yeah, I got to switch there. We did really well. I think we could have won. I really do think we lost off a fluke. I think we could have beat either one of the teams that were in the finals. But it is the way it is. I got to kind of put my name out there. It felt good to be considered one of the better group fighters in the game and whatnot. And then after that, melee, like, I don't want to say it. It started to get kind of stale, but it's like other than Kumite, it didn't seem like there was a lot happening because uh, before HDL was like it was the last couple pickups, and then after no one was hosting anymore. So it was like there wasn't any group fighting stuff going on, and that was like that's still my main thing. Like I wanted to be able to get on practice group fighting so I don't get washed up because otherwise there's not much you can really do. Like sometimes people populate NA7 or like go on a random group fight server, but it's pretty rare, and it's not always good. It's not always good practice because people aren't lining up and doing that sort of stuff. But yeah, and obviously that led to me speaking up in the Hold Fast Melee Discord now. I was like, hey, let me host pickups. I need melee, and I know there has to be some other people that do as well. And we've been pushing really good numbers. The last 3 or 4 pickups, we've had 30 people or more. So I'm glad it seems to be mostly enjoyable outside of the I'll put in quotes occasional trolling, even though it seems to happen
I
every
think we
night.
had a little
But
bit of that tonight. Just a little
yeah,
bit of trolling.
yeah. Just we do a little trolling in Hold Fast. I've learned. But yeah, I mean,
Um,
I guess that leads up today, and obviously now I'm an NCO in the 45E. That also happened not too long ago. So
so going back to the HDL a bit, I just want to clarify: did you demand a trade, or did you request a trade, or like how much pressure did you put on Thad?
I'm not gonna lie. Okay, at first I was very like and I mean I guess I was respectful the whole way. I was like, hey man, I want to play with my boys. Nothing against you guys. I don't mind the team, whatever. Uh, it did take like a couple. I think it took 2 weeks after, so I had to play 2 more games with them. Which I was like, okay, I didn't really remind him. Maybe he forgot, whatever. Also, he might just not want to trade me because at the time I was doing really well. But then at some point I was like, hey man, I'm not trying to make it super pressure or put a bunch of pressure on you or whatever, but I do want to go play with my boys. So if you can make that happen. He was like, hey man, no problem, I got you. And like right then he traded me. So it was pretty smooth. It took a little longer than I wanted, but it's like, yeah, whatever. It didn't really change much as far as the outcome go. What?
Seems like he kind of passively aggressively wanted to make like sure that you were really sure about it.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's definitely true. I mean yeah. It's definitely okay to wait and see because I could have changed my mind. I know there's a not everyone knows exactly what they want right when they say they want or don't want it and hold fast. There are some people that are not so great at making up their minds. So I was not mad by any stretch of the imagination that he didn't just trade me right then and there. Maybe he wanted to make it a sure thing. And I love Thad. No beef with that. He's cool. He's very cool.
Yeah, very cool, dude. Um, So I know that there was a bit of drama involving K-pop and the 45E. From what I know, he was a part of the 45E, and then I don't know, some random Discord bullshit happened. He was kicked from the Discord, and he decided not to come back and join the TRR or whatever he joined.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so I have to ask you point blank: do you wish K-pop was not a part of the Cambridge chats?
Oh, so you're asking? See that's another thing. People gave K-pop a really bad rap. I don't know what went on behind the scenes. I mean, I've heard, Chu did a lot of stuff and whatever as far as picking his teams or whatever, but whenever I was there, it wasn't like the meme team that like people were rashing it to be like, "Oh, you're going to K-pop's team." Like that was the meme at the time, right? But it really like everyone was really chill. We just went, we gamed, and there's some stuff that happened with K-pop. So, like you could say maybe he shouldn't have been a captain, like because sometimes he would just have to leave in the middle of a match, or we couldn't do a practice because he has to go. He and there's a lot of young people in the melee community. They have parents, they have responsibilities. It's like people were just memeing him, giving him a bad rap for just being a kid, and it's like whatever. So even some adults struggle with that sort of stuff. But no, yeah, no issues with K-pop. He's cool. I think he's probably a smart kid. Seems like a smart kid, but everybody's young, and everybody who's young is memeable. I'm 21 and I'm memeable. Hence my most recent copy pasta.
It seems that you guys are a bit frustrated though, because you guys are playing us in your final match in the knockout stages, and
Mm.
K-pop abruptly left, and everything just sort of went downhill with you guys. It seemed like your morale just like flushed down the toilet. So can you like take me through that?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there were certainly a few people, and not to name any names, because it's a normal thing to like be frustrated, and there certainly I would say there definitely was a little bit of a morale dump. Uh, the other thing was I think a lot of people on my team were vocal about the league was a little drawn out, not to anybody's fault, but because it was a test and it was the way it was, and then we had EU HDL, which was really smooth and fast because they got to see all the stuff we did wrong and fixed it, which is how HDL is going to
Yes, we were
be.
the guinea pigs.
Exactly, which HCL is hopefully going to be that smooth or even smoother next time. But not only was my team like kind of ready to be done or just come play, get out of it, because it almost was becoming like a chores the way it seemed. I didn't really care. I just enjoyed coming to group fighting. But in addition to that, K-pop had to go in the middle of a game, just normal life stuff that happens. He had to go, and our team was like, man, what the fuck? That's our team captain. There was a couple people where I was like, that's really unfortunate that happens, whatever. And I'm sure people did play worse because of it. I don't think if people did think less of him because of that situation, I think that's a little immature and surprising. But for people to be upset that it happened, that's normal, right? If you're competitive, it's like, fuck, we kind of got screwed. Maybe we shouldn't have lost, whatever. But it's not as big of a deal as I think people might make it out to be.
Chug ended up winning Best Leader. Do you think that was well deserved?
Oh yeah, it could absolutely be well deserved. I mean, I wasn't on every team, so it's hard for me to say if he was better compared to all the other team leaders. But as to any team that he's on, I'm assuming he's the same way as he is in the 45E, and he definitely showed it in the Chads. Whenever things are going wrong or something needs to be changed, he is very blunt and extremely willing to just say, hey, this needs to be changed. This needs to happen right now. And as I've heard, the rumors of behind the scenes, Chug helping K-pop out with a lot of stuff. Not to say that K-pop wasn't doing normal captain things, but it was more of like a mentor or like a working together thing, that sort of deal. I don't know exactly who did more or whatever, but yeah, Chug is certainly a good leader and he does a good job at taking charge without being asked. He does it when he knows he needs to do it.
Cool. So, like, what do you think is the biggest thing you took away from the HDL?
As far as like how it needs to improve, or I'm not sure how to
I
answer
think
that.
just for you personally, like, do you believe that you're a better group fighter because of the HDL experience?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, all practice is good practice when you're not the best, which I'm still not yet. I really want to be, but I think that cake really easily goes to Star Blazer. He is just I don't know how he does it yet. I mean, I'm convinced he just has the most massive brain in the hold fast group fighting melee community because I've traded, or he's given me like YouTube videos and I've watched and I'm like, dude, he doesn't play like crazy. He is so unbelievable. He just kills people and I look and I'm like, how is he killing these people? Like they're just not blocking, but it's against these people that I would be fighting against and I wouldn't get the same kills. But he's just the way he sets it all up and kills people and knows what to do in every situation. He's crazy because like I watch him and like mechanically I think I can do a lot of stuff that looks nicer and it's just like maybe harder to do or whatever, but you don't need to do all that. He just kills them and I'm like, what the fuck? But yeah, to answer your question, sorry I went off on a tangent. Yes, HDL definitely helped me improve. It was good practice. You get put in the only way to get better, is to keep practicing, and you get put in every situation possible, so you know exactly how to react and how you can improve. And you want to be in those situations as many times as possible, even if it's something like HDL, which isn't necessarily as organized as lines are in RGL. You still pick up a lot of really, really important skills. So.
Are you looking forward to the next one? Because I think the draft is gonna be like completely like on its head. Maybe apart from Star Blazer, he's still probably gonna be like top three. But apart
Yeah.
from that, like I think it's gonna be completely different. It'll be exciting to see what happens.
Yeah, it's sad to say. Unfortunately, I think I will still just not ever get to be on Star Blazer's team for group fighting in anything, except for the NA All Star match coming up. Thank the Lord, I get to play with Star Blazer one time. But yeah, if anybody goes first other than Star Blazer, it's just off of because he's not around as much. Like he doesn't come to pickups. You don't see him on melee servers. But either way, if people aren't picking him first, they're not playing purely for the win. Because if you want to win, you're picking Star Blazer first. He's insane. Uh, and unfortunately, especially if we have the same amount of captains, maybe if we have two captains, I might go third or something. But otherwise, I just don't get to be on his team because I'll be a top six pick. I'm assuming this next HDL.
So when the HDL ended, we were kind of, I guess, in a weird in between time. between like I guess the Kumite really, and you didn't take part in the EUHDL, right?
Oh, EUHO? No, I was in it. I didn't do that well, but I was there.
Oh, okay. Let's talk about that then. What made you sign up? Because I know that I would not want to play on high ping. So why did you think it would be a good idea?
I mean, I just really like melee, and like I said before, I mean, this doesn't apply as much. Like, I don't think people should go onto EU servers and be like, oh yeah, I'm getting better at melee. If there's an NA server up, you should always be on EU. But I will say, going on EU servers, especially on XMG, like, because there's no EU server where I don't get 150 ping. Like, there's a lot of guys that live like in the northeast coast of the US. Excuse me, and they'll get 110 ping or less, which is mostly manageable. You have people like Elcom, who he was really, I think he was one of the best in the game at some point, right? And or one of the best 1v1ers, and he played on 100 ping all the time. It's manageable. 150 ping on XMG, you can do it. People like Rect, he's crazy, and he can group fight really well on it. I was not practiced at all, but I will say it does make you like pay more attention to right when someone starts to stab. Like, you notice it immediately. As soon as someone's going for an up or down, you have to block it right away. Because if you don't press block as soon as they start that attack on 150 ping XMG, you die. Granted, sometimes you'll die anyways, because if they do a spin, good fucking luck. I don't know how people block it yet. I'm still learning, but uh, yeah. I didn't do that well in EU HDL, but I definitely had fun, and it's still group fighting, so good. It's not bad practice, because group fighting is more than just blocking and stabbing, positioning, and knowing when you break off, why you break off, stabbing people in the back, executing 2v1s. There's a lot of mental stuff that goes into group fighting, which is why some people that are really good at 1v1s don't do as well, because 1v1s are very mechanical. Group fights are a lot more about being a big brain.
Have you noticed a difference between how NA approaches group fights and how EU approaches group fights?
Oh, absolutely. Oh my gosh. Sometimes I wanted to rash EUs for doing it, not because their group fighting is worse, but because something I really don't understand, and maybe that's why I don't like it, is just because I don't understand it. They're like, it's really good, but it also in some situations I think it's really bad, and I think this is something that maybe, hear me out, EUs might be able to learn something from NA group fighting. I know I'm going to be rash for this. Don't hate me. I love EUs, and I think that they are overall better at melee. But I think there's a couple things, especially like in group fight line cohesion, they always are so like, their lines never break. Like in NA, if a flank is starting to fall, there's always that one guy, sometimes me included, that's like, okay, this flank is down. Let me jump through their line, and maybe two or three of them will turn around, and then you kind of stall them out for a little bit instead of like on EU, if your three guys on the right flank dies, which is their left flank is pushing, the guys on their lines will just sit there and just be stabbed from the right. Like, they won't break off from that horizontal shoulder to shoulder. I guess like like they won't break off from being parallel with their teammates. They just sit there and die like down the line and shift. Which shifting is good, but I think something I think the kind of gambleness of NA, and I wouldn't even call it a gamble. Like, whenever I jump through a line, like whenever our line is just completely falling, like the flank is already dead. Like, if one flank falls, sure, don't jump through. Keep line cohesion. I think that's something EUs do, because NAs will still sometimes just die and they'll jump through. But like on NA, I think it's better to kind of force that open melee whenever your whole flank is already dead. And because then it's like, okay, three guys are on one guy and he could potentially stall them out if it's, someone who's really good, like Matt Bob, he's the dancing queen. He can jump around people even if they're the best in the game. And I know I did it in EUHDL. Sometimes it works. You can 3v1 for certain amounts of times if you're really good with your movement. Uh, but yeah, I guess the main thing is NA has way more open melee, which I think they need to work on, line cohesion. And I think EU's line cohesion is fucking incredible. And their lines look beautiful for almost the entirety of the group fight, except for maybe some lower tier teams. I wouldn't know. I don't watch their like RGL style, like regimental fights. I've only seen the HDL stuff, but I think they could learn a thing or two from NA open melee. I'm just saying, maybe unpopular opinion. Who knows?
Whose team were you on?
I was on Kappa's team, the Lancashire Losers. We finished second.
Oh, nice. So you played in the final match?
Correct.
Nice, nice. I believe it was what, like 15-9 or something?
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely wasn't a blowout. They ended up getting, I think they ended up getting Greasy and someone else. They got like some weird last minute trade pick due to somebody being knocked out. It was kind of sketchy and weird, but maybe it was within the rules. I don't know. I'm not trying to create drama, but I think they got Greasy, which was a really big like jump for their team and definitely made it easier for them to beat us.
A commissioner joining a team in the knockout stages. That kind of sounds familiar.
Yeah, no, no, that's never happened. Just only an EU would do that,
Never
right?
happened.
Yeah,
I guess history repeats itself.
yeah.
Um, so yeah, after the EUH deal, like what were you up to?
Um, what was after EUHCL? Was that
I think this
EUHCL was
is like the
after Kumite,
time.
right?
I think this is after EUHDL and before Kumite. So do you remember like what
Okay.
you were doing in between that?
No, I think I was just I definitely played Holdfast a little less, I would guess, just because and then I was probably doing more like regimental stuff than I normally would. Like I would go to more events in between because I wasn't, as burnt out from practicing melee. So it was just more of a normal routine. And then once Kumite came around, obviously I was hitting rates every day and 1v1ing and trying to be the best I could be for that tournament.
So the Kumite kind of started up because there was a lot of people in the Melee Discord like wanting a 1v1 tourney. I don't know if you were one of the ones that were calling for it, but um, I DM you. You get the call. Were you expecting to be invited?
Um, it was one of those things where I wasn't surprised I was invited, but I like if you wouldn't have invited me, I wouldn't have been surprised because from that at that point, I mean, the only way people would know I'm good at 1v1s is if I'm shitting on them on wraiths, which a lot of times, a lot of days I would be on wraiths for a long time. I would play for 100, 200 kills and make sure I could beat everybody in the lobby really consistently before getting off because I'm a nerd. But yeah, no, I wouldn't say I was expecting to be invited, but I certainly wasn't surprised when I got the message. I was like, yeah, okay, maybe I'm pretty good.
So when you found out that you're fighting Equal, like what was going through your mind?
So this might be a shocker to a lot of people because
User entered your channel.
I know whenever I first lost to Equal, a lot of
User left
people
your
were like,
channel.
"Oh my gosh, you lost to
Um,
Equal."
can we go down a channel? We're in the
Oh
intro
yeah, of
chat.
course, of course.
Channel switched. User joined your channel.
All right, we good now?
Yeah, something about Equal.
Yeah, yeah. Because at the time, Equal was like a mid plus on the sheet, right? Which I knew he was better than mid plus. Like him, I knew was better than mid plus. I knew Patty was better. Like these were people that I knew going to the tournament. People were going to see, oh shit, these people aren't, the ranks that they got on XMG prior, and are much better because they've improved a lot since those times. And even I knew that, and I wasn't that involved in the 1v1 scene. But like people that I would go on rates, and I'd be like, man, this guy has a good chance. Like if I fought him in a first or whatever, they could beat me. Equal was one of those people. And I told people from the very first moment I knew I was fighting him, I said, listen, Equal is either going to knock me out in the first round or I'm going to win the tournament. And I knew it. And I called it so hard. I was like, if anyone's knocking him out, it's Equal. His play style is really crazy and it's hard to play against. And I can't always block his attacks. And his defense, like going in, I was a little more confident because beforehand, a lot of people might not know, me and Equal, like I think a day or two before, we did a first to 10 on XMG. I beat him like 10-5. I was like, okay, he's solid, but I think I still beat him pretty handily. We go into Kumite. Obviously, that didn't happen. I couldn't crack him. Like I was doing a lot of things and like I confused him sometimes and I got him, but at the end of the day, I was like, I can't beat him right now. I don't know what's going on. Um, I certainly think I could have beat him if I played better, but I didn't. But after that, from that point on, I even DM'd him. I was like, dude, like you need to win the tournament, otherwise I'm never gonna hear the end of this. And well, that's what happened. And I knew I was really confident that he was going to win the tournament, especially after seeing him, beat the next round really handily too. I was like, yeah, he's got it. He's just gonna win. I don't know who beats him, and that's what happened. So
You know, the craziest thing is that I sort of had to be talked into even letting Equal in because back then, at least, when you think of elite level duelers, Echo's name isn't a name that pops into your head, right? And it's so crazy because like in this melee system, there's so many like diamonds in the rough that you really just don't know who's good until you just like I guess give them an opportunity and watch them perform.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I mean, as far as uh, like thinking of elite meleeers and thinking, oh, they don't belong there. I like none of that went through my mind because I didn't. That list, the XMG list that he was on before, where he was mid plus, was like I remember even when it was released, I was like, wow, Patty's a mid tier. Like he seems like he would be higher. But I didn't know that those tier charts are purely based off of tournament performance. It's not like, oh, we think you're this, we think you're that. And it's a bunch of smart people that are involved in melee. It's literally just you
Oh, it
lost to
used
this
to be
guy.
like that like a year ago.
Oh, okay, maybe it was at the time then. I know the most recent one was purely
Yeah, it got
tourney
changed to that like
performance.
recently, but we used to have something called evaluate.
Evaluations.
Yes, that we had that. It was mainly me and Va doing it. Um, but we figured that tourney performance was the best. Um, because if evaluator was like doing a duel and they just were just off that day, well then suddenly the guy's an elite tier, and that might not be the case. So
Sure.
we just did tourneys for ranking people. I know that you haven't had the best experiences. I think right now you're what, like a mid or a mid plus.
I am a flat mint here, and deservedly so. I mean, hey, I completely agree with the like. I understand the not wanting bias from potential, flukes, and the maybe the people doing it. Everyone doesn't trust their opinions on it, whatever. Having it just be something that is objective as how well they do in a tournament is really good. Do I think that there should be some interjection, like for certain cases, amongst like a group of people that say, "Hey, okay, this guy, he's this rank, he should obviously be higher, lower." And this, I know this sounds like I'm trying to talk myself up, like I want to be removed from mid tier and moved up. I don't care. I really enjoy group fighting. I'm a really good group fighter. I'm okay with that being my thing. But I do think like in order for a chart to be, you know, the best possible, it should be that one thing, which is the objective, how well they win or lose. Plus, it's like, okay, but did this guy really get that close to beating him, or was that a fluke? Like maybe this guy should be a little higher, or maybe somebody else should be a little lower. And yeah, and you could even choose to look at it that way. Maybe I should be a mid minus. I don't know. I don't care. uh, but yeah, I don't remember what the initial question was.
I think we're just talking about evaluations. I really can't say that. Um, but so that goes to show you, like you have one. I don't even want to call it a bad performance, but you just have one unfortunate, like go through some unfortunate circumstances in a tournament, and then you see yourself like completely down in the rankings when you know for a fact that you're much better. So you're saying that it doesn't bother you?
Yeah, I know where I stand. I really do think I'm one of the better duelers in the game. But if it's not shown on a tier chart, I don't care. It's like whenever I get on rates and I duel and I go to these tournaments, it's not because I want to be the best dueler. If I do somehow become the best dueler, that's awesome, great. But I like great group fighting way more. I think it's way more fun. It's way more involving of like other people. There's comms, somewhat competitive comms sometimes, unless you go to pickups. Don't go to pickups if you want competitive comms. Disclaimer. But uh, yeah, I'm certainly not held down. I was a little upset that I got knocked out the way that I did, which we don't have to talk about because I know, you know, it puts slanders on people's names. I think Green Dan has been improving a lot recently. I think he could be really good at some point. Because I remember when I first started dueling him and Fires actually, because I believe they were both in the IN. I remember seeing them for the first time on an NA7 server, and they were both like kind of okay, but I was like, I've never seen these guys before. Him and Fires have gotten so much better from the first time I've seen them. Fires is a very solid duelist now. I don't think people give him a lot of credit because he doesn't come around very often. Green Dan has gotten way better than he was. He has such a he has a really strong defense. He doesn't do anything crazy on offense, but he's overall becoming a very good player, and so is Fires. So I definitely nothing against Green Dan at all for knocking me out of that tournament. That son of a bitch. Sorry.
You'll get your revenge. Don't worry, you'll get it. Um, so we had a few other 45E members in the Kumite. We had Chug, we had Wraith, we had Turtle. So how involved were you in their matches?
We were all, I believe we all deafened for our own individual matches. Like beforehand, we were all sitting in VC chilling, but like as soon as the match, someone would either leave the VC or deafen or whatever. I know Turtle has a little ritual that he does and he doesn't deafen. But that's secret. I won't let out Turtle's secrets for all you that are looking to be the best meleeers ever. It is a intense ritual, and it's you wouldn't believe what he does to just be such a god at melee and how he beat Ed in that intense NWL grudge match 15-14 77th versus 45E. Uh, I won't tell you the secret. If you want to know that, you'll have to interview Turtle. I hate to tell you.
Oh, he's next.
Um,
Don't worry.
but yeah, we weren't really involved, especially Wraith. Like Wraith just kind of comes on, he kicks ass, and he leaves. He comes to events somewhat often. He works more than the rest of us, it seems. And then Chug, like we all talk. We usually will all like talk about the person we're facing and be like, oh, this person does this. If anyone, this is something I'm big on. If you ask me something, I'll tell you it about that person. Say, okay, maybe this person's kind of weak against this, but I wouldn't never want to like intrude and say, hey, maybe you want to try to do this against this guy because it might fuck up my guy's mojo and he might try something that he's not comfortable with. I don't want to do that. But if you ask me, I'm hands on. I'm willing to help. But we definitely weren't sitting in each other's ears saying, gamble him now. He just fainted 3 times and then did a spin
Oh,
last
that's
time. So
annoying.
now, yeah, it's annoying as fuck. Nobody likes that. Yeah, nothing like that.
So let's talk about Wraith. He
I
he
know where this is
gets to
going.
the finals. So that's good.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he got to the finals, I don't really know how to put it lightly, so I guess I won't say it. But
He
what
got
what
shit
do
on.
you what do you make of his match?
Oh, he got absolutely shit on. Everglades gang is name is just I don't know if you know that's me and Ray's thing because we're both from Florida. Everglades gang's name is forever there's just dirt on the name. It's not clean, it's not pure. He went to the tournament. He could have made it a lot closer. He didn't. The match would have lasted forever if he did, and I understand. Uh I won't expose all of Ray's opinions on this. I will say I think it was obvious to everybody that there was a different tempo after the first few kills between Equal and Wraith, where I don't think Wraith would have beat Equal by any like. I think Equal wins that normally. Like he won, he was supposed to win. He's the Kumite champion. Great. Do I think it could have been a little closer? Yeah. Would it have taken way, 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 way longer? Yeah, that duel would have lasted fucking forever. First to 20 Ostro, are you kidding me? Holy shit. On
On standard,
standard?
on
Oh my
standard.
gosh, dude! Like I would have gouged my eyes out. I would have played it, but my eyes would have been non-existent after. So, but yeah, that's as much as I'm giving you on that. If you can try to interview Wraith, he doesn't talk that much, but he could be an interesting one.
Now it seems to me, Mr. Adam the Meta, that you're implying and you're insinuating that Wraith threw. Did
N-
Wraith throw?
No, 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 no. I would never, ever, ever, ever say that about someone I cherish so deeply in my heart. I love Wraith, and he is the best 45E duelist. No one can take that away from him right now. Uh, but no, he lost 520. He's a shitter. We'll leave it at that. Maybe next time he'll do better and not, you know, disgrace the Everglades gang and 45E name. But who knows? Maybe he'll quit.
So after the Kumite, I guess you was the XMG tournament afterwards where you the Green Dan thing happened?
Yeah, I think that was the next thing that happened. I
So
had
heading into that tournament, like what were you hoping for?
um I mean, it's pretty similar to the. I mean, it wasn't exactly the same as the Kumite. I looked at that bracket and I was like, okay, I can definitely get to the finals with these people. Did that happen? No. Once again, someone just knocked me out and made it. Someone made me think I was just not as good as melee as I thought due to some unfortunate circumstances. I did, however, I got past the first round. So I'm getting maybe in the next tournament, I'll get to the third round and then I'll get knocked out again. I won the first round 5-1 to somebody who I hadn't heard of at the time, but he came to at least the most recent pickups. I think he's in the 26. His name is Cole. He was pretty solid. I expected just to be able to straight stab him and kill him, but I actually had to like do things to kill him. So props to Cole. And thank you for not knocking me out of the first round of another tournament. I think I would have just gave up and stuck to group fighting after that point. But yeah, then I had to fight Green Dan. He's a strong defense. Sometimes he's annoying to fight. Normally, I think under normal circumstances, I'm supposed to kick his ass, but I did not. So he beat me and went to the next round. I think he ended up losing to Power, who is another really, really, really strong duelist.
He's an up and comer for sure. Well, actually, not even an up and comer. He came fourth place in the unrestricted tourney, so he's already
Yeah.
reached the top.
Well, he's one of the four people that got put on high flat based off of that tourney, and I think Bob the Builder recently joined them off of your tourney that you hosted.
Hmm. So can you just, for the record, clarify what happened with the Green Dance situation? I know someone was lagging. Were you lagging or was he lagging?
No, I mean, so he was certainly lagging a fair amount. There were 2 kills that happened where there was a little bit of teleportation going on, and
On whose end?
on his end. The only reason I say on his, like, if it was just me seeing it and I would be like, okay, maybe I'm fucking lagging, you know. But I had confirmation from 2 other people, one who I was in comms with, and then another person in game confirmed, yeah, he's kind of teleporting, whatever. And then uh, I wasn't upset that he was lagging. I get that people lag. Dan's good, you know. Maybe he could have won and then went to the finals. That would have been great, and I would have been like, cool, I got knocked out by another winner. But the thing that upset me a little bit, and I understand, like, when you're hosting those big tournaments, there's so many people. There is a lot to do. It's not just, oh, you watch every fight, you calculate the score. There's a lot of shit going on. Maybe you're getting DMs. You have to mess with the sheet and move people up and down, take care of scores, whatever. I get it. I brought it up like 2 or 3 times in the middle of the duel. I was like, hey, he's kind of teleporting all over the place. I don't really want to fight him. It's kind of annoying. I not that it's his fault, but it's also I don't think I should be punished for dueling someone who's, you know, having heavy connection issues. It's just it hurts the integrity of the duel. Now, could it have happened to anybody? Yeah, but do I think it should have been dealt with? Like, it was one of those things where I brought it up, and the person adminning at the time was like, "Yeah, just play it out." And I don't know if he was actually watching. I think we were one of 2, if not, we were the only duel going on. And I brought it to his attention, and then, you know, it wasn't really dealt with, which is whatever. It's hold fast. You know, not everything's going to be taken as seriously as, like, we're on an esports stage. It's whatever. I'm not mad. I'm not mad that I'm a mid tier. Uh, but I certainly was a little upset at the time that it wasn't handled the way that I wanted it to, because I'm a crybaby.
Do you believe you lost because he was teleporting?
So whenever I'm on Wraiths, right, and people could say, oh, you know, you're in a tournament, maybe you just don't do well in tournaments, you got knocked out of Kumite. What I say to people that, you know, bring up, oh, I don't do well in tournaments, I've really only done poorly in one tournament. In Kumite, I got knocked out by the winner, and I got more points than anybody else did at the time, and I think I could have even got more or won. Obviously, I didn't prove that, so I would never just, like, openly say, oh yeah, that's for sure what would have happened. He beat me. It was a pretty close game. It was fun. Move on. The XMG situation is someone that I consistently, like, anytime there's a lot of names that come on race and I'm like, okay, I can beat all these people pretty handily. I'll go in, I'll beat everybody really handily, have a pretty good KD, and I'll be like, okay, there's not much I can learn here. I'm too much better than the people here at the current time. I'll come back another time and I'll just leave. Green Dan is one of those people that I think I can go on a server and I think I can pretty handily beat him. So I think under normal circumstances, yes, I do beat him in a tournament, in a normal tournament setting. But I didn't beat him there. So maybe I'm full of shit. Who knows? Time will tell. Maybe, like I said, Green Dan's getting better. Maybe he'll be the best meleeer in the game next time I fight him, and I'll just eat my words and I'll cry.
I think if there was a VOD, we may be able to get that reviewed or something, because I think something needs to happen. You can't just let a teleporter like play an entire tourney like that and win,
Yeah.
I guess. But
Well, the unfortunate thing is, like, I have two clips of him teleporting. I don't have the first two because in the middle of the match I had to set up my NVIDIA recorder thing and it was turned off, so I couldn't record the initial ones that happened because I didn't think it would be necessary. I thought someone would be watching and it would be taken care of. No diss on the admin. I get it. There's a lot to do. It's whatever. It's a melee tournament. There will be more. I can prove myself. Yada yada. But uh, I do have 2 clips of him lagging. Not that it matters now. I don't think it should affect the tier chart. Like I said, I don't care. Best mid tier out there. Don't at me. But yeah, it's whatever.
you can only go up now, I guess.
Yep. I can't get too much lower.
So after XMG, I think we had the normal tourney, but you weren't invited to that, or
Hmm.
were you? No, were you banned?
No, I was banned. Yep. Even though I got knocked out first round of Kumite, I was still amongst the. I remember the agreement was no Kumite members and a couple people that did well in the XMG tourney. So I was
About
not
that,
invited.
Chug might have participated. K-pop might have participated. A few others might have participated.
Oh yeah, Chu was in Kumite, wasn't he? Oh, son of a bitch. He didn't win though. He
No,
didn't win the he
I
didn't win
think,
the normal tourney. Bob kind of like destroyed everybody really hard, except for
yeah.
Shane.
Did that give you a bit of a confidence boost, like knowing that, hey, I'm mid tier, but you know what? The Holdfast Melee server acknowledges my melee abilities and banned me.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, yeah. What was funny to me is that I got knocked out first round of Kumite, but there was still a lot of people that were betting on me, like in that prediction chart to win the XMG. I was like, okay, that's cool. You know, people don't think I'm dog shit, even though I got knocked out in my first tournament ever. Which I mean, obviously, I don't think I'm dog shit. I think I'm really good. I do really well in group fights, and even when group fights lead down to that 1v1 situation, I win probably a higher percentage of the time than I lose. I think I'm a really solid duelist, but I haven't proved it yet. So I guess I'll have to do that.
Well, with the new leaderboard tourney format once a month, you'll have plenty of time to show the melee community your dueling worth, I guess. It won't
Absolutely.
be very scarce like it used to be.
Yep. And if I don't, I'll just take it as it is. I'll just say I'm not a good duelist in tournaments, whatever. I'll kick your ass on wraiths, but
No, please
if I
don't.
lose to you in a dueling tourney, I guess it doesn't matter. I'll just be a group fighter. People were comparing to me. I think it was Greasy, who's really good, supposedly good at dueling outside of tournaments, and he's a really good group fighter, but he doesn't do well in tournaments. So maybe I'll be the NA Greasy. We'll see.
So going back in time a bit, I think it was over a month ago that you actually took over pickups. Um, I think you were getting kind of annoyed that pickups weren't happening anymore, and then I just messaged you and I was like, "Hey, why don't you just host them? I'll make you a ref.
Yep.
If you
It,
want to take the initiative and actually do this, then why not? Like I don't care. Like I encourage people to use the Melee Discord as a platform if they want to do something. Um, so can you just take me through that? Like what kind of made you want to start hosting pickups?
Yeah, well, there was actually a couple reasons because I remember like pickups were hosted before, and they were like towards the end, towards HCL, they were a shit show. Only like 8 to 15 people would show up, and it would be like unorganized. It was more like all charge, and it was kind of shitty. And I was like, you know what? Maybe I can host pickups, and it'll be a little better. I haven't proven to do that every night. Usually, the second round is really good. The first round is kind of memey. I think I have a couple ideas to hopefully combat that in the future, but that a little nicer because I'd been to EU. They're not called pickups bad too, but now they have scrims where there's 4 teams, team captains, and everyone lines up, and it's more like a regular group fight. And it's really like there's no one's really trolling, running out and doing dumb shit. People might play badly, but they're not running around whip spamming and doing. What was that thing we did tonight? What's it called? A phalanx? Yeah, that they don't do that over there. However, I do know that some EUs, like the ones that come to my pickups, they say they like NA pickups better because it's more like you can get more kills because there's more people in a big line and it's a little bit more chaotic, which can be fun. It can be more similar to all charge, I guess, which is a lot of people enjoy. Another thing was I don't think I had this thought initially, but I really, really, really wanted NA to be on XMG. And with that XMG turning up, I thought, why not force people in pickups to play XMG for a little bit, at least until that tournament, and see what people think. And what do you know? Now everything in the future will most likely be XMG. Am I crediting myself to this? Absolutely not. Do I think I helped? Yeah, sure, a little bit. Maybe it was the 1v1 tourney where people, you know, that did well. They were like, "Oh, XMG is not so bad. It makes you a little better." Do you have to be more on your game to play XMG? Absolutely. It just makes it more competitive, and you have to play seriously. But yeah, I definitely wanted to introduce. I guess not introduce, but kind of shove NA into XMG Melee because I do think it's better for competitive reasons, and it's just more fun to. It's like if you enjoy being good at something like Melee, you're competitive, right? And something like XMG just makes it even better. So you should, if you take any pride in Melee for whatever reason, I know that's weird taking pride in a video game, but if you enjoy being good at Melee, you would even more enjoy it if you were better on the harder version of Melee rather than, the easier version, which is standard, because it's a little bit slower paced, a lot slower paced.
Speaking of standard versus XMG, poor Equal, poor Equal, he he pretty much wins the last, probably most likely 100% the last standard melee tourney. So where does this even put Equal? Because like on one hand he just won a tournament with all the best guys, but on the other hand, like the rug has kind of been pulled under his feet, and we're all kind of have moved on and have kind of forgotten about the meta in which he won. So like, what do you think of that whole situation that Echo's in?
Yeah, I mean, it definitely seems like it all happened kind of fast, huh? Like that tournament happened, and then XMG just swept the fields, and it was just, I guess people aren't really talking about Kumite. I will say every time I'm in a VC where Equal sometimes, like, because I mean, I like hyping people up. I'll bring it up and like, man, you're the Kumite winner. Like, what are you talking about? Whatever, like that type of deal. And people, they acknowledge it. Like, people know that he, like, I hear people say, I think I even heard it today that Equal is the best 1v1 NA mailer. He won Kumite. Like, people definitely, they know that he won it, but maybe it's not taken as seriously as maybe some things in the past. Like when Pepperoni won King of Fighters. I just watched that for the first time recently, by the way. Dude's a fucking legend. But it's certainly possible. Like in every competitive environment, football, basketball, even recently, like with these COVID championships going on, there's always something that's taken as not as seriously as other things, but it should still be regarded. It's like you still beat the same people that were there before, and you still beat the best of the best at the time. Was it on XMG? No, but it's like uh, generally with things like this, whenever you speed things up, the people that are the best tend to remain to be the best. If you take the Kumite tournament and put it on XMG, pretty much all the same people are going to be there. The only people that weren't at Kumite that would have been on if it was XMG were people that declined invites, like Reddish. He would have done really well in Kumite. Sin, he would have done really good on Kumite, and he would probably, and they would both. Reddish proved that he's really good on XMG still, uh, in the most recent tournament by winning. Um, so yeah, anybody who thinks equal should be like it should be looked down, or it's not as much of an achievement because it was standard and maybe it wasn't the most big deal thing because maybe not all the best players were in it. Which I'm not saying that, I don't know, but he still won and he's the best. And anybody who thinks they can kick his ass, challenge him to a first of 10, let him practice for a week or something and get back into it because he hasn't been playing that much other than group fights, and he'll probably still kick your ass. So that's what I have to say to that.
Um, the melee system, like I know you haven't been around the whole fest community a long time, but we've been through a lot of different types of like metas and melee versions and whatever. And I guess no one can really predict the future. Like AGS might release a melee update tomorrow and it'll change everything. But do you think that the melee meta is a bit too unstable, or do you feel like XMG might actually stabilize it so we can actually see who's good, right?
Um, do you mean like as far as things like bugs and whatnot go? Like, do I think it's a little bit too buggy to be where it should be?
Well, like we just went through a big change with standard to XMG, right? So
Hmm.
do you feel like XMG will be like stable for a long period of time, or do you feel like we might go through a big change again and then we can't really see who's better than the other
Oh,
guy?
um, well, it depends. I mean, obviously, if something big like that were to happen I've only been here for a short period of time, but obviously, like EU's run XMG for a while before NA did it. So if something big were to be changed, it would probably happen over there first. Otherwise, it would be on AGS. Like if they drop some update that makes it so you can't crouch and then stab in a really buggy animation anymore. Hint, hint, wink, wink. AGS fix crouch stabs, please. They're really annoying. I use them, by the way, because they're good, but I don't like them. I think they're a little
Yeah,
buggy.
adapt or die, right?
Yep, yep. I think they're a little buggy on XMG. On standard, they're not so bad, but on XMG, they're a little annoying. Are they handleable? And are they the most? Are they honestly even the most powerful offense in the game? No. But do I think they're annoying and too buggy? Yes. I don't like them. I don't think they should be part of melee. But what can you do? The game's still fun either way. But yeah, like I said, it's mostly on AGS for something like that. Otherwise, someone would have to in the melee community on EU or whatever would have to go on the config, do some scientist type of shit, and change melee speeds or blocking grace time or whatever, and then test it out. I don't know, honestly. I think XMG. This is the first time this has happened, right? Where you go into the config and change something for a melee.
Yes, yes, it's never happened before.
Yeah. So only time will tell how often something like this will happen. In addition to, I'm sure AGS will change melee again at some point, maybe, or maybe they'll just put XMG in the game and make it less buggy. That would be really cool too, I think. But who knows?
I'm hoping that if there is a change to melee, it's going to be AGS related and fixing some of the bugs. Like because right now we still are dealing with some of the like the delayed stabs and whatnot. So just stuff like fixing stuff like that. But what I don't want is people making a bunch of different settings because then it's going to be like really impossible to know who's the best guy, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, then it's like who's best on this setting, but isn't the best on this other setting. You need a baseline to know. Like everyone has to play on the same thing, otherwise we can't really be too sure who's the best.
Imagine if there were like 20 different variants of chess. Like chess hasn't changed for hundreds of years, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's why we know like who the best guy is.
Sure.
Um, so let's actually go back to pickups because I think you're kind of a leader within the melee community now, because you're the one hosting pickups, and that can kind of be a negative thing because once you're in a position of authority, you sort of have to put your foot down, and I think you kind of did put your foot down today, and when you are that authority figure, you're gonna be getting some backlash and some hate. So, what do you think about that? Like, are you okay with that backlash?
I'm okay with it. It's one of those things. Usually, in whatever community I'm in, I mostly avoid. I think pickups was something. I mean, no one else has hosted them since, so I'm assuming that if I wouldn't host pickups, there would be nobody, and that's the way it seemed at the time. So I was like, hey, I'm gonna take it. Whatever. Some people are just generally maybe hold me at a lower bar or whatever because they don't like it that I'm willing to kick or ban them or tell them to behave in pickups because it's frustrating, to be called out. And whenever you're doing something, you're having fun, and then someone's like, hey, stop having fun. It's like what the fuck, asshole? I just want to do my thing. I just think of it. It's like, am I really doing anything wrong? No. Could I be doing what I'm doing and hosting pickups a little better? Sure. Like it's not completely on the people that are trolling. It's my job to make sure that people want to come to pickups and play melee normally, mostly normally, anyways. Maybe apart from one or two troll rounds where people have fun, which I'm okay with. But it's mostly on me to maintain the integrity of pickups so that people want to come back. There's not too much trolling, and people aren't leaving in the middle of rounds. Like we had a couple of guys tonight leave a little bit early. I'm pretty sure at least one was due to the massive amounts of trolling that was happening on one team on the first round, which I get it. There were some cool people on the other team. They were playing another game. They're fun guys, good at melee. People like them. They want to all hang out together. But whenever it comes to pickups, I mean, like you said, I got to put my foot down so that everybody can have fun. And if people don't like me because of that, whatever, I get it. People don't like to be parented because they're playing a video game. It's supposed to be an escape and fun, blah blah blah. But it's like it's important for me to step in whenever because it's like, yeah, sure, you're having fun and it's your game, you paid for it, whatever. But whenever you're coming to a community event, it's like I think it's important to think about the people around you. It's like, okay, they're also trying to have fun in a way that is meant to be. So whenever you come to pickups, there should be this objective understanding of, okay, what is pickups? You come, you pick teams, you group fight, and you melee. Anything else that happens is extra, like trolling, things that you do on a team that may be like a little bit non-serious. Like that's okay if everybody's doing it, but if not everyone's on the same page, or if the other team isn't on the same page, it's not as fun. So yeah, yes, I'm absolutely okay with taking some of the backlash, which I really haven't received any. I've received a couple of DMs from people being like, "Hey man, what was going on tonight? Things weren't that serious." And I'm like, "Hey man, I'm sorry. I tried to fix it. Whatever." But nothing super negative has came my way yet. I think I'm still in the good in the melee community. People don't hate me yet, I think.
Oh, I'm far past that point. Far far past that point. But that's what happens. Like if you're an authority figure, if you're like an authority figure for a long period of time, you're gonna get people that don't like what you're doing, and you're gonna get that backlash, right? So it just kind of comes with the role, I guess. And I guess it's the same like within a regiment too. Like if you're in a command of a bunch of guys, they're gonna have differentiating like opinions with how you're running things, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
Um, I don't actually think I asked for your rank within the 45E. Are you like an NCO or higher, or what are you?
Yeah, I'm an NCO now. As of 2 or 3 months ago, I'm a sergeant, which is, you climb through the ranks, you get to the highest enlisted rank, and then you get corporal, which is the first NCO rank, and then you get sergeant, which is what I am now. So I am, amongst the top 15 most in charge people or whatever in the regiment, 15 or 20, something like that. I don't know.
So that means you lead lines, right?
I don't. Fun fact: in the 45E, anybody can lead lines. You can be a recruit. It's our signups are first come, first serve. You come, you sign up, you can practice leading. We want people that are uncomfortable to go and do that sort of thing and have fun. Because usually the second, or there's officers in the thing that are willing to help and keep it. So it's not like, oh, a recruit's leading. It's not going to be fun. It's still fun. It's still like good things are happening, and we really don't get too many recruits. Not any to my memory that come and lead lines. Usually it's people who've been here for a couple months. They kind of understand our commands. Bada bing, bada boom. They lead a line and they probably get shit on, but it's still fun. 45E line battles are really fun from my experience. Not too many things to complain about other than some bad nights where we just lose every round. Um, but yeah, no, I don't lead lines. You're not required to lead lines as an NCO in the 45E. What I do. What I do to help out in the 45E, me and Chug actually, I kind of piggybacked off of Chug off of this. He's the one who got us doing melee training and whatnot. I helped Chug with run melee training and come up with ideas and do that sort of thing. That's how I ended up climbing through the ranks, was helping him with that and proving that I could be mature and lead and actually provide something to the 45E other than just myself being good at melee. So
Um, the 45E is like when I look at just the atmosphere and the culture you guys have, you're like you guys are extremely silly with all your like different accents and stuff, and it's always been that way. But then on the other hand, you guys are also like super competitive, and you have like the wins to show for it. So like, how do you guys balance that so perfectly?
that's a good question. You'll have to ask someone who's a lot more important than me and involved in the 45E. I know we get a bad rap sometimes for quote unquote inactive officers or NCOs or whatever, but it's like most everybody that has a position in the regiment is doing something to contribute, and the atmosphere of the 45E is very. It's like you said, it is perfectly laid back but perfectly competitive at the same time. People you don't really see people like if you look at the TRR Discord, there's a lot of people. Usually they're hanging out, they're watching a movie, or they're playing a game. We usually sometimes that'll happen. Like people will group up and say, "Hey, let's play Stellaris or Bannerlord or whatever different game other than Holdfast today." But usually it's like we come to our events, we have our fun. It's a nice little community. Everyone gets to know each other. It's fun. Everyone has like their own little cliques, people that they like more than others. Just that happens everywhere in life. And they're goofy when they need to be. They're serious when they're told. Whenever there's a massive amount of respect for the people that are higher ups in the 45E. Whenever someone says to tighten up, clear comms, be serious, everyone behaves, and it's really awesome because it really just shows the maturity levels and I guess somewhat of the age group. I think we have a little bit. I think we have a higher probably age average than other regiments. So people come, they're it's easy for them to be respectful whenever told, and it's a really welcoming environment. It's very chill. You don't have to do anything you don't want to do. You just come, you game, you hang out. As long as you're not an asshole, you're welcome to come back, and we just chill. And then like you said, our competitive side is also really serious. We have some really really good players in all aspects. We have people that are really good at shooting, which is a skill, by the way, in case anyone was wondering. I learned, I didn't believe it, but even with all the bullshit RNG in this game, there are some people in this regiment that are just notably just way better shots than other people. Like myself, I'm like, oh, I'm good at melee. Let me be good at shooting. It's not the same. If I practice, could I be good at it? Sure, but it really is a skill. We have great line leaders, people that are just strategic geniuses. They probably could have beat Hannibal in his prime, that sort of thing. And yeah, it's the same thing as our line battles. We have trainings for even things like NWL that are mostly serious. with the occasional joke or whatever. But whenever it's time to be serious, everyone's serious. They come and we kick ass. And just like in NWL last year, we kicked ass. That was so fun. In RGL, we got fourth, not too shabby. I think we could have done a little better, but we'll be better next year. But RGL is the same thing as NWL. We came, we kicked ass when we could. We always tried our best. You never hear in the 45E. The comms do not get demoralized. If we're down more, we're trying more. It is just, man, these motherfuckers don't give up, and it annoys the fuck out of me. But I love it. But yeah, it really is a good balance of everything you could want outside of maybe like there's not always a million people in VC chilling. So you do have to, I guess, work a little harder to find that click or group if that's what you're looking for. But if you're just looking for something to come hang out after work or whatever and just game, I think 45E is perfect, and I love it.
Yeah, it's interesting because what I've noticed about the majority of 45E members is that you guys are goofy, but you're also mature. But then some other members, maybe, from the TRR, they're just immature, period. So like would you say that's a good way to describe the average 45E member? Goofy but mature?
Yeah, I mean it's just like you described it and how I spent some time describing. It's people they're serious when they're supposed to be, have fun when it's warranted and appropriate for the time being. And obviously TR gets a bad rap. I mean, they, like I said, the 45E certainly has a higher age average than the TR does. It's just a different environment. They have a lot of younger members. Like their whole melee squad is just a bunch of 16-year-old melee prodigy gods that are annoying as fuck, but they are good at melee. I do like a lot of them. I'm just kidding. I like pretty much everybody in the TR for at least some aspect, but they just have a younger, you know, what's the word, demographic. So it is to be expected that there are people that are just a little bit more goofy, a little bit more out of control than people in the 45E. We certainly have a higher target demographic, and we have an age limit. You're supposed to be 16 to be in the 45E. That helps.
I'm not sure how involved you were in the K-pop situation, but does stuff like that happen? Like people just like leaving the Discord because of just like internal drama and stuff like that?
No, absolutely not. As far as 45E drama, I didn't even know that there really was any drama until I became an NCO. Maybe if I would have asked around a little more, I could have found some things out. I knew about some little things, but it's to be expected in such a large regiment that there's some people that have disagreements. But 45E does a good job at keeping inner, you know, their interregimental and like within the higher ups, like stuff to each other, and it doesn't, reflect inline battles, and nobody knows like this officer called this other officer's wife fat or whatever. We don't hear about that stuff. It's mostly
Because we
hush
all know that
hush.
how happens very often.
Yeah, exactly. It happens all the time, and we don't hear about it because such good officers and NCOs over at the 45E. But yeah, they handle that stuff well.
So I just want to talk about like sort of what your ambitions are. Like, what do you really want to get good at?
In Holdfast,
Yeah.
uh, I definitely want to be able to claim the title of the best NA group fighter. Uh, Other than that, I'm chilling. I like I said before, it would be cool maybe if I somehow became the best duelist, but I'm okay with group fighter. If I don't become the best group fighter, I'm okay with that too. I think I'm really good, and I've proved that over the last few months. But I still want to be even better. I really enjoy group fighting, so even if I'm not the best, I'm still gonna have fun. I love kicking ass in this game for whatever reason. This weird indie game that I stumbled upon, but yeah, so as far as that goes, that's about it. I don't have any, I don't want to be a certain rank in the 45E. I just want to be in the 45E. You could put me at recruit and I would still be there. I love it there. But other than that, nothing really. I just want to keep getting better at group fighting.
How do you gauge if someone is a good group fighter or if they're the best group fighter? Because obviously the simple
Mm.
answer is kills, but
Uh-huh.
you've been a part of the debates where it's like, well, like, people can do some other stuff as well, but it's not easy to kind of gauge that because we can't see how many blocks people have, we can't see how many stab hits people have. So like, how do you gauge being good, I guess, in group fighting?
That is a really good question. That is something that shout out to XMG really quick. I guess not a shout out. Let's get a group fight tier chart going. I know that would be really, really difficult, but I would love to help. And I think it'd be really fun if we took some dedicated time to have some people watch like the HDL, watch RGL. Obviously, everyone has a general idea of like everyone knows for the most part, who the top 20 group fighters are, right? Or roughly top 20, top 25. That can be shown on the all-star team. That team is at least 90, 95% correct. Maybe there's one or two people where it's like, whatever. But to figure out who's the best, I mean, you're right. It's difficult because it's really easy just to look at someone's KD and be like, oh, they're the best group fighter in the game. Like me being number 4 on the HDL thing for KD. Does that make me the best group fighter in the game? Absolutely not. There's people like if you look at Chug, he was only a little bit below me on the chart, but he had a little bit lower over KD, but he had more kills than me overall. So he was dying more, but still like killing more people. So you have to look at things like impact on the line. You look at Matt Bob. I think he had a 1.4 or something, whatever. He was still top 15 or top 20. Do people think that he's like, let's say he's number 15. Do people think he's the number 15 group fighter? No, they probably still think he's top 10 or maybe 1, 2, or 3. Because if you've ever faced Matt Bob, you know the impact he has on a line. He could be 0 and 10, but he would have 2,000 points just off of blocking from 1v3ing your fucking whole flank for the entire game and making you want to slam your desk. I've never felt this rage before, in case you can't tell. 63. Yeah, there's a lot of things that go into it, because line impact is probably the most important skill to have. Being able to kill people is also really important too. Like Starblazer, he is the best at killing people in NA group fighting by a lot. This is not debatable. I'm not, maybe you could debate me on if he's the best group fighter. I don't think you really could debate me on that. But if you were to, I'd be like, okay, but is he the best at killing people? Yeah, no one is as good at killing people in NA group fights as he is. He's even one of the best at EU group fights. In case you didn't know, he finished top 10 on their EU group fight chart for EU HDL, and he had one kill where he dropped like 57 kills because he's a psychopath. Because he finds ways to impact lines on any ping in any situation against supposedly better group fighters. Not that I'm saying they're not better; they probably are, but we can't know for sure, I guess, because we're on different ping. But yeah, there's a lot that goes into it. Line impact is probably the biggest thing that you can look at when it comes to telling someone's skill, because it's not always about the guy like Starblazer who can kill a guy and then run down the line and stab someone in the back. Sometimes it's like, because if Starblazer is shut down, which I've never seen it happen, but if he is, then the trouble goes on someone else who can run through a line and create some open melee and then let somebody else prosper. Like sometimes the behind the scenes. Now, I'm not saying this is what happens. I think Starblazer is going to get a million kills every game, no matter what, because he's incredible. I'm a simp for Starblazer, in case you couldn't tell. But who's the guy that's setting up Starblazer, right? Sometimes the Map Bob in a line, he'll jump through the line, and the 1 and the 2 will be 2v1ing him, and then the guy next to Map Bob just gets to stab them in the back. Or you get the 1-up advantage. That guy who's the number 2, he can just up down straight down the line with a 3 guy, and they're all dead. So who was really the guy doing the crazy thing? Was it the 2 guy who just did what he's supposed to and up down the line or stab people in the back, or is it the guy who opened up that door like Map Bob does and gets 2v1? There's a lot that goes into it. It's extremely situational, but which is why I think it's a little bit harder to make a tier chart for something like group fighting than 1v1s.
I think it's unique to Holdfast because if you compare Holdfast Melee to basketball, for example, in an alley-oop situation, we have a stat for the guy who's passing the ball, and we also have a stat for the guy who's putting the ball through the hoop. But in
That's true.
Holdfast, we only have the stat for the guy who's connecting his bayonet to the other person's face. We don't have a stat for the guy who's helping make that happen, right? And I think that's where the problem lies with gauging support. I know there's a whole meme of like, "Oh, I'm negative KD," but it's okay because I'm a support player. Like, we don't actually have a stat for who's a legit support player and who's just making an excuse because they're doing badly.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, like a blocking stat would be, I think it'd be really cool. Or if you block someone's attack and your teammate kills him, maybe you get an assist because you distracted him or whatever. I think that would definitely. iron. It would make it easier to tell who's really doing what and who's just getting shit on and making excuses for being a support player. Because I know what type of player you're talking about, and there's a lot of them. They're usually in the mid. There are good mid players though, not a lot of them, but there are some good mid players. But yeah, I think you're right. Having some extra ways to track other statistics would be nice. Could it be? Is it mostly unnecessary for AGS to do it? Yeah, but would it be really easy for them to do? I'm sure to add a number on a scoreboard, but whatever. I think it's fine either way.
Yeah, I do hope for something like that. I think it could impact the draft as well. If you notice someone's getting a lot of assists or someone's getting a lot of blocks, like you might value them more than someone who might even have more kills than them or a better KD than them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so we have the NWL coming up in the summer. Are you looking forward to that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. NWL was so fun for me because like not too long after I joined the regiment, NWL training and stuff was happening, and that shit was intense, man. I thought like usually I mean, a lot of people do this. I'm not going to say it's just me, but I come in, I'm generally very analytical, and I look at people, and I think I kind of know people, right? I did not know Turtle. Holy shit! If you've ever been to an NWL training or in comms with Turtle when he's leading an NWL line, holy shit! You better not talk over him, and you better not fuck up because he will yell at you. He yelled at me, and it scared the shit out of me. Uh, he's very alpha whenever he's leading an NWL line. Um, but it was so fun. Like I remember it actually felt like being in some sort of like on some sort of esports stage. I know that's weird because it's hold fast and it's not even close, but it's like it's just a really intense, environment if you let it be that way. Maybe that's just me because I'm a weird nerd, but it was really fun, to go and compete. That was my entry hold fast experience outside of the first couple events I went to was NWL, and it's really nostalgic and it was really fun that I was able to participate at, even at a low rank. So I'm really excited for this year where I'm way better than I was last year. And I think our whole team is way better, to be able to participate and see how it holds up, if it holds up to the nostalgia and the hype. So I'm excited.
Um, I think you're a shoe-in to be a part of it, right? With your melee ability and your shooting ability, like you're not questioning whether you'll be a part of it, right?
Oh yeah, no, no, absolutely. I will. Uh, I say this, knock on wood. Hopefully, I don't become really shit over the next couple months. But I'm assuming I will be a part of it because I as much as I melee, I still I follow commands as well as you can follow commands. I do that. I do it really quickly. I follow shot calls. I'm able to take over and lead a line if I need to. Hopefully that doesn't happen in NWL, but because I'm certainly there's definitely a few guys that go before me when it comes to leading lines because I don't practice, but I'm able to do all these things and I'm a veteran, so it definitely probably secures me a good spot on the NWL squad, if not just melee.
Then we have the NAHDL, probably like near the end of the NWL. We hopefully will not be having to compete with any other leagues. I think everything will be done by then. Where do you think you're gonna be drafted? Um, are you hoping you're drafted like top 10, top 15, or do you think you're gonna be like around that 20-ish area again?
I think seeing because I certainly hear and I see all the hype that people put on my name. I've seen the tournament predictions, like even for Kumite too, people had a lot of people had me, winning even just that first round, and I'm sure a lot of people would have still had my back going on. And in the XMG tourney, there was at least 4 or 5 people that were saying I was going to win, and that's in a 1v1 tourney. A lot of people, and pickups too, they know I'm a really good group fighter. If I had to give a top whatever, some sort of increment that I think I'm going to be picked, I really do think I'm going to be picked top 5. And that's not necessarily because I'm full of myself and because I think I deserve it. It's just, based off of what I see, I think people do understand that I'm in that sort of position to be picked top 5.
Now, do you feel like you're gonna have to attend pickups a lot? Maybe top frag on some of these 45e friendlies, kind of keep your name out there, or like you don't think that you can just get top five in a few months just by like laying dormant for a while, right? You have to keep your name out there and keep top fragging.
Potentially. I wouldn't say that's a guarantee because I know going into HDL, I didn't even know who Starblazer was. He didn't come to pickups. He was in RGL, so I guess people knew him through that. But I didn't know who Starblazer was until after I saw him perform in an actual HDL match. I think people hold legends up to to high expectations. Like when I come in, I've never heard people in any game ever, not just Holdfast, talk about people so highly as they talked about Pepperoni. That guy is held high, like on a pedestal in this game. So, and I think regardless of how good or bad he is, he's always going to be talked about for some sort of like if he comes back after something, he's still going to be really good. Do I think if I quit for 2 months and came back, that people would maybe hesitate to pick me top 5 or 6 or however many captains we have for that first round? Yeah, I think it's possible. But even if I left for 2 months, I think at the latest, I think I could safely say I'm still getting picked between top 10 and top 20, if not directly. Yeah, top 10 or top 20, even if I quit for a little bit.
Yeah, it's interesting that you bring up that pepperoni thing. I pretty much witnessed pepperoni's rise, fall, whatever you want to call it, beginning to end. What I will say is that I think it's just a thing people have with name value and like a brand name. It doesn't necessarily matter how good, bad, or whatever someone is. If they have name value for whatever reason, people will put them on a pedestal. Like with me, I've been around the melee scene for so long that it doesn't even matter that I'm a boomer and I'm washed right now. People don't want to fight me in a tournament. Like they don't want to fight me, and it's
Yeah.
just because of that name value and that mystique, I guess. And um, yeah, like he was selected for the I think what was it that EU versus NA thing, and I don't think he should have. He has really questionable internet, and he's way past his prime. But it just goes to show you it's name value, and I think you're developing name value of your own now.
I hope so. Yeah, I mean, if I haven't already, I certainly people know who I am. I mean, I host pickups and I do really well in pickups, and I've done really well in every group fight that I've been a part of since I became well known. And even beforehand, I was doing pretty well in the 45V group fights. Chug used to kick my ass and be top frag, but I kind of hold that trophy now. I don't hold it over his head, but he does like to remind me that he used to top frag over me in group fights. And sometimes he still does. He's a very good group fighter still.
Um, for anyone getting into group fighting, what advice would you give them?
Ooh. Hmm.
Just right click forehead.
Yeah. Well, just left click. Honestly, I think it's funny that you say that. I think so. Blocking is probably the most important part of melee. You don't have to do anything flashy on offense, to be crazy in melee, right? Like you yourself now, you're still very solid at 1v1s, and you're very basic up, down, feint, or straight stab, or wait for them to make a mistake and gamble type of spiel, right? Uh, if you're a really, really, really good at if you're really, really good at blocking, you will in general be really good at melee. As far as group fighting goes, being able to block is really important, but I think positioning is the most and is probably at least slightly more important because like if you can block and stab or whatever, but if you run into the middle of a 2v1 and you don't know what you're doing and why you're there, then you're just going to get up down and you're dead. um it's really important to have really proper positioning and know everything that is around you. You need to know where your teammates are and where the enemy is. um which I know it seems really basic, but it's not as simple as being like knowing that of their presence. You need to know what they're doing. If they're throwing an up attack, if they're throwing a down attack, you need to know. Like you need, I don't know, what's a really good just general thing. Target switching is OP. That's probably what I would say. If you're able to create pressure on the guy in front of you somehow, or even if you're in mid and you can't really just walk up and create pressure like you can on the flank, don't ever stab the guy right in front of you. Just target switch. This is where what I said before comes in mind. If you know, or if you can communicate with your teammate, and you know that your teammate always throws an up attack, and he's just priming the guy across from him from an up attack, you do a down attack and you attack the guy in front of your teammate. Do not try to kill the guy in front of you because who is he looking at? He's looking at you. Uh, which leads into, it's a double-edged sword. You should also not be super worried about the guy in front of you, because the guys who are probably going to kill you are to the left and the right, the guy that you're looking at. Because, good group fighters all think like that. They don't want to stab the guy right in front of them because he's just going to block it. You want to stab the guy that your teammate is priming, with a target switch with an opposite attack, so he's not ready for it, and then you get a free kill, because that snowballs into what's really easy, which is just left clicking. If you target switch and kill somebody, you can just run down the line and stab the rest of them, because they weren't expecting their teammate to just die and you shit on them. So target switching, learn how to target switch properly, and you will be a solid group fighter.
That's why the pawn takes diagonally.
Wait, what? Oh, yeah, that's true. Yep.
Bet you never thought about that.
The pawn is
There's
target
pawn
switching.
target switching. Um. So yeah, mainly that, just target switching and just right click, block, don't
Yeah.
die.
Just be good at melee and you'll be good at group fighting. That's not true, but yeah. Hit just melee as much as you can, and eventually you will become better at group fighting if you really want to. Study the lines, watch clips and film like I do, because I'm a nerd, and see what other people are doing that you're not, and do it and try it.
Do you think it's more important for people to put time into 1v1s or put time into coming to, I guess, melee practices and regiments and coming to pickups?
Like, to be better at group fighting, or just in general for melee? Like, are you saying
Just like to get better at melee, should people put more emphasis on 1v1s or coming to group events, whether it be regimental practices or pickups?
so? The thing with regimental practices would be that I would say it's not probably ever going to be the best thing you can do, is because in a regiment, it's restricted to just the people that are in the regiment, and it's also restricted to, they're going to be teaching some really base level stuff and repeating it, through most practices that you already know, and it can only take you so far. You want to be going to things like pickups, or going to tourneys, or going on a melee server, because it's not just secluded to your regiment. It's every regiment in the game can go on a melee server or come to pickups, and you could face some of the top talent, in the game, and learn some things by going to either of those things. If I had to say to pick one between like something like pickups or just group fighting in general, or going on a 1v1 server, I would say a 1v1 server. Um, that's where you learn the basics. If you get thrown in a group fight, no one's going to teach you how to melee in the middle of a group fight. You're just going to get shit on and wonder why you're getting shit on. At least if you go into a 1v1, you can fight the same guy over and over and over again as many times as you want, and get shit on, and you can learn things really quickly. In a group fight, if you die right away, you have to wait. Your team respawns. You don't really know why you died. The comms are shit if you're coming to pickups and you're not really learning anything. If you go to 1v1s, you can at least ask, say, hey, what direction do bayonets stab in? Because people that are learning melee don't know that. And even as far as peaks go, like, I think it's safe to say not all people that are really good at group fighting are really good at 1v1s. Or I guess you could say that, because usually the people that are really good at group fighting, first they were really good at 1v1s. Except for myself. I got kind of okay at 1v1s, and then I became really, really good at group fighting, and then I kind of doubled back and was like, okay, now I want to be good at 1v1s. But yeah, definitely hitting the melee servers. Go on Wraiths, go on whoever's melee servers up, and practice every day. If you want to be the best, of course.
Yeah, because like even on wraiths, like I guess it can be intimidating with people with hundreds and thousands of hours in the game, like practicing. But there's
Mm-hmm.
some like privates and recruits on there as well. Like it's not just a complete sweat fest, I guess.
Yep, and you can be shit on over and over again and not worry about your rep, because it's just a melee server, and sometimes people like that are really good get shit on melee servers, and no one really cares how well you do on Wraiths or whoever else has melee servers. Paprika's melee server, Nurx's. It doesn't really matter. You can go in, you can get as much practice as you want. There's always people. I guess not in the morning. Usually it's like mid to late afternoon when people populate servers like Wraiths, but much more available than waiting for a group fight server to populate. Good luck. You'll get to play twice a week. So go on Wraiths. Go on a 1v1 server.
Cool. So we are near the end. So just the last couple of questions. Um, is there anything we don't know about you?
I would hope a lot of things, although maybe there's some people that know more about me than I would care to admit. But
Oh, let's hear them.
no, I mean, there's nothing I would say I really have to hide. I mean, I make mistakes just like everybody else. There's some dumb shit that I've done, nothing crazy. I haven't killed anybody or done anything like that. So
That we know of.
yeah, that's true. What I'm telling you right now, okay, if you choose to believe me or not, whatever, I don't care. But um yeah, not really. I mean, you guys know my first name already. I'm generally pretty open about, opinions or whatever. I don't like share stuff. I'm kind of like how I said towards the beginning of the interview. If you ask me stuff, usually I'll answer, honestly and genuinely. But if you don't ask me, it's like, yeah, whatever. I don't just tell people shit, because I definitely go along that didn't ask, don't care kind of vibe. If you didn't ask, well, cool. I won't tell you. If you want to know, we can talk about it. And I don't feel like I have any, overbearing, terrible opinions that would drive people away, even if they didn't know about them, because I'm generally pretty. I try to be. I'm pretty agreeable, or at least I try to be. Uh, I wouldn't say I want everyone to like me, but I think it's a byproduct of just trying to be, a good person.
Well, now that you're hosting pickups, you're the worst person ever.
I probably decreased my bar a little bit
Yeah,
because now I have to be an asshole sometimes.
you got to be the nanny at the daycare.
Yep. Yep.
Um, so through your like 1 year journey in Holdfast, up until this point, has there been like any particular person or people that have been very influential on you, or anyone that you want to give a shout out to?
Uh, just the 45E in general. I mean, I could name a long list. I could pull out the 45E registry. I mean, there's officers and NCOs. Obviously, Turtle got me in, and I've interacted with him probably more than anybody. Chug is probably catching up because we started talking a lot more after he returned. The most recent time. Uh, and we do a lot of stuff together. But yeah, definitely Turtle. Just the 45E in general. It's a great place, and I love it. And I honestly, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't say that. I would probably still play if somehow I got disconnected from the 45E, but I wouldn't want to be. I love the 45E. You got Turtle, Chug, Alexander, Ryan. I mean, the list goes on. If you're an NCO in the 45E, you know who you are. You're cool as fuck. All the officers, you're mostly cool. I haven't talked to all of them, but and there's a lot of enlisted guys too that just make the game more fun. If they show up to my trainings or they show up to anything that I'm a part of, I'm glad they're there and they're cool. So just the 45E in general, love them.
Awesome. Yeah, Turtle has recently been talking about him in the QRR, so like I don't know how much weight to put on that. It's a bit scary. I don't think I've
I
ever heard
saw
him
that.
talking about other regiments in that way before, so I don't know where his mind's at. Maybe you do.
He hasn't talked about it. I'm hoping and I'm thinking it was just the topic of discussion. I don't think he would ever leave the 45E by choice. I think that was simply uh, hypothetical, and it was a what if he would go to the
Yes, that's how
QR.
it starts. Yes.
So yeah, that is how it starts. I hope he doesn't leave. If he leaves, I'd be very sad. I might even just follow him. So who knows? I really like Turtle. He's definitely one of my one of my favorites from the 45E. I
Yeah. I think that's gonna do it. Any final words of wisdom? Anything you want to talk that we haven't brought up? Talk about?
I mean, as far as things to talk about or bring up, nope. This is your interview. I'm happy to answer all the questions you have. Like I've said before, if you don't ask me, I don't care to tell you. Uh, and words of wisdom: don't be an asshole. It's a pretty good statement for life. Don't be an asshole if
I
you can
do
help
enjoy that.
it.
Awesome. This has been the Adam interview. Thank you, Adam.
Yep, no problem.
Goodbye, everyone.